How do I respond to wanting just like pleasure? How do I respond to wanting to feel comfort?
This is the deep dive with Adam Roa.
What's up, deep divers? Thank you for joining me for another episode of Deep Dive Musings, where I'm going to just let you know what's on my mind, on my heart, as I'm navigating this crazy experience called being human. And for me right now, I am in Montreal at the time of this recording, and I came here because I'm doing a collaboration with Goalcast on another video, which is really amazing and fun. And I just did a performance the other night, and it was so enjoyable. And one of the things that I love about Montreal is the culture here, and there's a lot of it's French basically culture with so much other stuff mixed in, but the French culture includes some amazing food and pastries, and I have been indulging a bit. And that's unlike me, I would say. I definitely go through my phases, but I've been indulging. I've been brought out to some wonderful nights out by my friends here, and I've had a couple drinks. I really don't drink that often. I've allowed myself to have some pastries, which I don't generally get, I would say. And I've been really sitting with why. Like, what's the reason why I've done that, even when, and not that it's bad, just why am I choosing to do that? And that's going to be today's topic, because there's been some interesting realizations around it that I want to share with you, and you might be able to relate to. Before I dive into that, I just want to remind you that my album, Permission, is out and fully available. And man, that is... I don't know that I've ever poured myself into an artistic project outside of maybe The Art of Choosing Love, my YouTube show. This album, Permission, has been such a journey. My heart and soul has been poured into this thing. I think that it's an innovative approach to personal development, combining my spoken word poetry with original music that we went into studio for 3 months to record, and storytelling and personal development concepts all wrapped up into this incredible journey. And I invite you to go on that journey with me. You can get the album at adamroa.com. The single You Are Who You've Been Looking For is available on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Music, all the places if you want to get an experience of the single. So, head over there and get it. It's completely unique. And if you're someone who resonates with my message, my art, I think you're really going to enjoy it. You're going to love it. Today, I just got back from lunch, and I was at this place where they have these amazing pastries, this whole counter and filled with it, and these incredible sandwiches. And I've talked about my diet a lot. It fluctuates quite a bit. And I'll go through months of, not eating really any meat. And then when I was in Bali, I had all these blood tests and various things done. And the recommendation was that I start eating meat. So I went several months starting to eat a lot of meat. And then I will go through periods where I don't have any gluten or dairy or sugar, and like I'm really strict with it. And then I'll go through other periods, like I have been this past, I would say week, where I've allowed myself to have a lot of sugar. Actually, I've been eating these pastries here in Montreal, and I don't think that that's bad. I think that it's actually good to give the system variety. I think that depending on the stage that I'm at in my life, the diet that I have is going to be something that can support me. So, for example, I believe that when we eat meat, that's a denser energy. It can be very grounding. In a lot of Native American, like peyote ceremonies, for example, they'll serve meat during it. It can be really grounding. And the period of time that I was in where meat was a big part of my diet was when I was battling this depression. I don't know if battling is the right word, but going through this depression. And it was something that really brought me into my body, right? Which is where the journey with depression was primarily focused. And I often go through periods of deeply spiritual evolution and feel like I'm in communication with consciousness beings that are not in the physical form, right? Angels, guides, spirit animals, galactic star families, ancestors, whatever, God. And for those periods of time, I'll often just completely stop eating meat and go much lighter and make sure the foods that I'm eating allow me to feel almost like untethered to my body in a lot of ways. And so I use food both from a physical standpoint, what my body's wanting physically, but also from a vantage point of what is going on in my life right now. What is the evolution of my soul's journey in any particular moment, and to use food as something to support that. And so I don't think that there's any right or wrong necessarily. I would say that just so for everyone listening to this, when I eat meat, I don't eat any factory farmed meat. It's very important to me that we end factory farming. I think it's incredibly, one, from a moral standpoint, it's awful, the treatment of those animals. And it's also, from an energy standpoint, really unhealthy to be consuming the flesh of animals that have literally spent their entire life in fear and pain, and it's just not good energetically. And then also from a physical standpoint, the amount of antibiotics and hormones and chemicals that are pumped into these animals, you don't want that in your system. So if I can encourage you with anything, even if you're going to continue to eat meat, avoid factory farmed meat at all costs. And then I eat organic, farm to table as much as possible. So high quality. I consider myself a qualitarian. Now, where was I? Okay, so I don't think that there's necessarily a right or wrong, and I don't feel as if I judge myself for, I'm in a period where I'm eating this, or I'm in a period of eating that, as long as I feel aligned with it. The thing is, when I went to lunch today and I got a sandwich there that had meat and cheese on it, and then I got a almond croissant, which looked so amazing. They have it right there on display. You could smell it. And I got a coffee. I'm just like spilling all the beans here. Those are all things that I don't normally eat. I would say that it's, in general, when I'm vibing high and feeling really good, I don't eat those. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat refined sugars, and I don't drink coffee very often. So what was it about this meal? And especially since the day before I had a dessert with my dinner, and the day before I'd had a pastry. Like what is it right now? Because the truth is, if I'm being honest, which I am with all of you, I don't, it didn't feel right. And this is important for me to share with you, because there are times where my body and my intuition is saying, no, you don't want that right now. And I still go against it. I'm getting better about it. More and more of my decisions each and every day are aligned with what's my absolute truth. And that's because I'm also honest when I don't follow it. Like right now, I just got back from a lunch where I didn't listen to what was going on in my system. My system said, order the vegan sandwich, and I ordered the Cuban sandwich. And my intuition said, get a tea, and I got a coffee. The almond croissant, I don't know that I was saying not to, but I definitely felt like, hey, you don't need this. And I got these things. And so when I was walking back, like while I was eating it, I could feel, I almost like regretted it. And so I just started asking myself the question, instead of judging myself, I started asking the question, why? Why did I do that? What was the reason I decided to go against my intuition and do that? And I realized that it's a comfort in a lot of ways. And the ways that it is comforting is the taste, like the pleasure, like actual pleasure of the taste. And then also the chemical reactions in my body. When you release a bunch of sugar into the system, like that almond croissant, that is going to be endorphin release that feels good. And so they were in the moment pleasurable and causing me to feel good. In the long run, we'll see how I feel. And I started to ask the question, okay, well, if I'm noticing that I'm leaning into sugar more, why do I need the sugar to feel good right now? And I realized that it's because I feel lonely. I've been traveling on my own for a while now, months. And before that, I was traveling with the Art of Choosing Love crew, making the YouTube show. So I had, my best friends with me on the road. And I had a romantic partner. I had a girlfriend that was traveling with me for the last several months that I was like living with in Bali. And I have been in companionship. I wrote about this on my Facebook and my Instagram. I posted about how I realized I had an addiction to companionship. And I felt like I feel like, here I am in Montreal. It's rainy. It's gray. I'm walking around. I'm realizing that I don't have that person that comforts me when I'm feeling lonely. And so I've been leaning into food, specifically sugar, to feel good. I don't have like the pleasure of my senses and sensations of having like that woman that I can like sniff and snuggle and touch. So I'm getting the senses of that pastry that smells so good, that flakes off in my hand, that taste. And I am medicating with this food. And it's funny because I'm getting emotional in this moment. I'm getting emotional in this moment because I don't even know why, to be honest with you. I think that I'm just actually acknowledging it out loud that I feel a bit lonely. And that's okay. And part of my sovereignty that I'm developing as someone who hasn't been single for 12 years is, how do I respond to being lonely? How do I respond to wanting just pleasure? How do I respond to wanting to feel comfort? And over the last week, I'm not proud of how I've been responding. I'm not proud that I've had as much sugar as I've had. I know that disconnects me from my intuition. I know that makes me sluggish. I know that affects my blood sugar levels, which I've worked really hard to start to reset through detoxing in Bali. And I'm not necessarily proud of it, but I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm going to develop the awareness. I'm going to be honest with myself about what's been going on and why it's been going on. And now I have the awareness, which means I have choice, which means I'm going to make different choices because that's who I am. This is not going to be my pattern moving forward. Even coming back from lunch and immediately recording this podcast is me saying, I am shifting this. This podcast is the start of that. I am shifting this. And I wanted to share this with you because I imagine that a lot of you can relate to this. The things that you might be using to medicate a feeling that's uncomfortable, whether it's loneliness or sadness or anger, and whether it's food or drugs or sex or social media or Netflix or whatever it might be. Be honest. Be honest about why you're doing the things you're doing, why you're consuming the things that you're consuming. Be honest about whether you actually feel like that's what you want, if it's in alignment with who you want to be, if it's bringing you closer to the vision you have for your life. And then make the choices to shift the things that aren't in alignment. And there's nothing, you don't need to wait for anything. You can start that right now. That's my hope, is that right now you're going to choose that for yourself because you deserve that. You are worth that. You love yourself enough to say you are worth changing. So, thank you for listening, holding me accountable in this interesting way of being my podcast audience that I feel so connected to, my deep divers. And thank you for making the difficult choices to shift your life into ways that are more aligned, even when it's hard. That inspires those around you by leading by example. You're making more of an impact than you know just by showing up for yourself. And thank you for listening to this podcast. If you feel like it was supportive to you, my ask is that you please leave a review on iTunes, subscribe, share it out with friends and family. And if you want to go deep into ceremony with me, check out the album. I am really proud of it. I can pretty much guarantee you've never heard anything like it. It's called Permission. You can get it at adamroa.com. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to remind you that always, in always, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved.